Whereas Allen Ginsberg has made a lasting impact as a poet and a scholar, and whereas his candor and scholarship has served as an inspiration to an entire generation, now therefore I, Mayor of the City of Boulder, do hereby designate Sunday, July 3rd as Allen Ginsberg Day.
The becoming of Dean Moriarty began the part of my life you could call my life on the road. In the bar, I told Dean, hell, man, I know very well you didn't come to me only to want to become a writer, and after all, what do I really know about it, except you got to stick to it with the energy of a Benny addict? Because the only people for me are the mad ones, the ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles, exploding like spiders across the stars, and in the middle you see the blue center light pop and everybody goes, ah!
Hello, Ed.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to have on the line from Lawrence, Kansas, a great American writer whose brilliance is incomparable satire, his storytelling, his insight. Let's welcome William Burroughs.
How many people are there?
Town hall is packed. The beat goes on, Bill.
I've often been asked if I had some words of advice to young people. If you were doing business with a religious son of a bitch, get it in writing. His word isn't worth a shit, not to the good Lord telling him how to fuck you on.
Gregory Corso and I collaborated almost inadvertently in building a whole mythology of a generation.
When Sputnik went up,
yeah, we did a chain poem.
Chain poem in Amsterdam, and we took a rest and went downstairs to the bathroom. And this owner of the hotel, what do you think he thinks? Two guys, right, 4 legs, were having sex. They're indignant. I say, hey, we're smoking a joint, man. We ain't having.
There once was a place, perhaps, where all was light, which once was the place, pray tell, some non-man-made god hung out. And so, tra-la, tra-la, it's fin de siècle again, my dears. And the music of the spheres, some kind of mad, mad laughter.
Space, like the final frontier, man. These are the voyages of the hip Starship Enterprise.
Captain, permission to beam Lawrence Ferlinghetti aboard.
Permission like granted. Where are we headed, man?
To, like, the planet Bungo.
They were the lonely voices of dissent in the 1950s, outsiders and proud of it. They were the artists who called themselves beats.
Hear the sound, hear the sound. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Balachate, Sputnik, H-bomb, explosion, explosion, explosion. Bang!
There's been a revival of interest in the beat generation. Poetry readings are back, being performed at coffee houses straight out of the 50s. Even MTV now has poetry programs that would make Jack Kerouac proud.
I feel all dead inside, backed up in a dark corner. I don't know who's hitting me.
Shorty. Shorty, get me that fight from Quinn. I want money, do you understand? Money, money!
I forbid, I forbid. Better buy a gun and shoot yourself.
You need money to buy a gun.
It's my first day in school. Some kids got around me, white kids. They said, hey, you, is your father a monkey? I was dumb. I smiled and said no. Well, they wiped that smile right off my face. They beat it off. I had to get beat up a couple of more times before I found out that if you're colored, you stink.
In the 40s, the bomb dropped. The entire planet was threatened biologically. It was suddenly the realization, why are we being intimidated by a bunch of jerks who don't know anything about life? Who are they to tell us what we feel and how we're supposed to behave? And why take all that bullshit?
We're at Columbia University now, and the connection here with the Beats is that this is where Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg met, and the catalytic reaction began that became the Beat movement, and that was one of the forces that helped create and I think shape the movements of the 1960s. Now, Kerouac comes down from your own fair state of Massachusetts, from Lowell. He's a working class guy. From a very early age is interested in writing. He is a great football player at Lowell's, and they offered him a football scholarship. The man who shook up America with the Beat movement basically began as a jock until he hurts his leg. And at that point, he meets Allen Ginsberg from Paterson, New Jersey, father, high school teacher, poet of minor note. And they're not talking too much about football. They were interested in something very corny, trying to find truth and meaning in life.
We weren't trying to make a social revolution, particularly. We were just trying to propose our own souls to ourselves.
Were they lovers?
We felt very close to each other, just intuitively, but, you know, without any overt sexual thing, except that I was in love with him. I had a crush on him, I had a crush on everybody.
They found African-American culture fascinating. They related to weird people like William Burroughs.
Jack and I went up to investigate your soul. We both really thought you were real interesting and dignified and weird, but intelligent. Jack said, Bill's the most intelligent man in America.
Did they take a lot of drugs?
Did they take a lot of drugs?
Cannabis, datura, coca.
I had a habit, man. Kept me occupied.
They were searching. They were searching. They knew they weren't satisfied with what was. And that's why we're here at Columbia, trying to inhale the atmosphere that once nurtured people who dared to be different.
Burroughs began exploring Times Square. So to see the lumpen population, he was interested in the different varieties of the bars. He met Herbert Huncke, and Huncke was living around Times Square, practically on the street.
They'd come strolling down the street with books under their arms.
We thought you had some kind of secret knowledge.
It was just good, healthy activity in a funny way.
We'd pick up some grass smoke and observe the phenomena of the red light over the roof combs of the buildings that indicated some kind of apocalyptic end of millennium consciousness.
These are all justifications.
For what?
For what? For an interest in the whole
We were
thing.
looking for...
Sometimes you lose sight of the fact that these were basically college kids, except for Burroughs, who was a little older. These were basically young people who were kind of broken off in public, in a way. They were all getting loaded, and they were just making a lot of conversation that they could build off of.
Says, I tell you my poem about the Empire State Building that had not doomed the dumb eyes of New York all the time. That was pretty good. He says, hey, I've got a new poem, too. All these poets, struggling to be poets. the same time, if they want to, well, they turn over their little purple moonlight pages in which their secret naked doodlings do show. Secret scatological thought. And that's why everybody wants to see it.
America, I've given you all, and now I'm nothing.